What is going on, everybody? It is episode 315 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. Hopefully, we are now over the technical hurdles that were haunting us the last couple of days.
Is the internet fixed? I have no idea.
I don't know even what the internet is enough to describe it.
What is the internet, anyways? Does anybody know?
Anyway, do you know, Kellen?
No, the internet was annoying last night.
Was it bad on IRL too?
No. IRL went. Phil was there too.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. So yeah, IRL went smooth. As far as I don't know if you noticed anything. No hiccups, but upload speeds were abysmal.
Oh yeah, you were whining about that, weren't you?
I was crying. I was so
You were
upset.
crying.
He was
so
like this. He's like.
It made you so upset that you went up to the Pop Culture studio and, probably took one of our snacks.
I did actually. You guys, so
as a consolation.
they have these. You guys have to try them if you haven't. There's these new Lemon Perfect hydrating lemon water, 0 sugar.
Are you doing product placement without any compensation?
I'm just reading the label, Mary.
No, he's getting compensated. It's just on the download.
Yeah,
Okay.
no taxes on that
He's
one.
sure that
That's
Tim's
big
not
lemon.
watching right now.
Oh, big lemon water.
Like it is a tradition that Kellen comes up and steals things from this studio, and then I go walk into IRL after IRL, and I go take drinks from that studio.
I will be partaking in this.
Yes, you're always welcome. You're always welcome. Whoa, that's the wrong screen. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk about director Sam Levinson. He is the creator of Euphoria. He has a new series coming out called The Idol, and some of the people involved in it aren't very happy with the rewrites. He got hired on like halfway through. They got rid of the original showrunner, and they hired him on, and he made some very specific rewrites that people are not happy with. I actually posted about it on Twitter last night. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the fact that Amazon and Warner Brothers are both going to be ruining Lord of the Rings, because it's not something you should still be making. If you ask me, I think the time is gone as far as the magic on those things. So we will be discussing. Yeah,
they're competing for who can make the worst version.
Or maybe it's the least bad version. They're like, who's going to make the least bad version of it? And Warner Brothers like, hey, The Hobbit wasn't too bad, so we'll give it a shot. We're going to talk about this upcoming Pornhub documentary. I swear, it's for research purposes. It's a Pornhub documentary. We're going to talk about its links to sex trafficking. We can say that, right? I think we can say that.
I don't know.
I have no idea. So
we're going to have to find out.
I'm not saying Pornhub the whole day. I'm not doing that.
Oh, didn't they do that for April Fool's one year?
Did they?
Yeah, they changed the logo on April Fool's Day to look.
Well, they may
corn.
be may be sex traffickers, but they're sex traffickers with a sense of humor. So isn't that funny? So we're going to talk about that.
Wow.
And we're going to talk about Donnie Yen, the actor Donnie Yen, who has a problem with some of the names being used in the John Wick franchise. He said that they contained racist stereotypes. We will get into that. We got a bunch of other stuff.
Whoa.
All right.
Thank you.
Wow.
X-Files theme? Like it?
What do you think?
Who's talking?
Woody Harrelson from Saturday Night Live. I'm looking for current events for like inspiration for my crisis parties.
That's creepy. You need to use that audio,
Yeah.
put it into a short with just like weird dystopian black and white footage with the same exact audio. That'd be
And
cool.
the scream at the end there, that's the one of the lady at the Trump inauguration who goes, no! Screams to the high heavens. So
Internet class.
yes. So we got all that stuff to talk about. We got some other things first, do we not, Mary?
Yes, we do. We've got cringe of the day. Couple things actually.
Let's do the go woke go broke one first.
Okay. This is really bad.
So okay, guys, let's
Did you thank the super chat?
we get to
yeah.
we get to that. We get to that. So here's the first one. This is as go woke go broke. It's get woke go broke. It's not go woke. Go
Yeah,
broke.
that's dumb.
Come on, here we go.
My name is Faye Johnstone. I'm the executive director of Wisdom to Action. We can create a world where everyone is able to live in public space as their honest and authentic selves. See the women changing how we see the future at Hershey's Canada.
Of course, it's Canada.
Yep.
And as if the feminist M&M campaign wasn't enough to demoralize you.
What does that mean?
Now we have feminist
Hershey?
Hershey's.
You know who it looks like? I don't remember the actor's name. Did you ever see Gotham? The actor who plays Jeremiah. He plays their proto Joker in that show. He looks like that actor, the redheaded kid from that show.
You might be misgendering.
Or they.
Some
or
them
her,
out there.
or whatever they are. Like, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be mean.
Her for she?
Yeah.
I love that it also names the person and says their
It's
age
Cameron
as
Monaghan,
if
that's his
anyone
name.
cares.
The actor's name's Cameron Monaghan. I
I've
can't
never
not
seen
say
this
it.
person in my life.
I have to say it if I remember it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get this. What? First of all, this is
You're not
cool.
supposed to.
What does the 2SL stand for in LGBTQIA+?
Two-Spirit or something.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
Two-Spirit.
that's the
Oh,
Native
that's
American.
Is
like.
this person
that's
even
throwback.
Native
It's-
American?
Okay, I don't
Well,
know
like-
if they're
like-
Native American.
Like
the
Brother
awesome
Bear,
the-
Two-Spirit.
What, like, well, I mean, it's one step away from your sign being an LGBT.
Let's go.
That's literally
So
what it is.
Crystal chicks are getting in on this now.
It's Native American spirituality or something like that. I don't know how it actually fits in with the LGBTQ identity movement.
I thought that
aside from
was,
the fact that it's just aside from the fact that it's from First Nations people up in Canada. They call them First Nations.
But didn't they consider gay people to be of two spirits? Like that was the thing?
No, it's not a thing at all. It's the way that they've retconned history
Yeah.
to convince everyone that non-binary isn't a new invention.
So it's multiple personality disorder.
Ah, hey, that's a good one. They could add that
I
one.
don't
to-
know.
I also like
all of this stuff.
Eventually, it'll just be all the letters.
The whole Q, like the whole Q part of the LGBTQ, the political part
The
of it,
plus.
it's all just mental illness. If it's plus, it's like plus a whole lot of crazy.
This also reminds me of the He for She campaign that Emma Watson did, that speech for the UN back in the 2015 or something.
She had that like pixie
She did
cut.
this, yeah, she did this speech about feminism for this He for She thing. I never heard anything else about it. I just watched a bunch of videos roasting her speech.
Remember that photo of her last year where she looked really sickly thin? Did you see that one?
I
She had
didn't think that she looked sickly. I think she just
it was the matted hair that ruined that did it. She
it was
looked
just-
sickly because
she
her hair
looked
was
normal in other photos of the event.
You know, they already have the perfect spokesperson for a Hershey's chocolate bar campaign.
Who?
Lizzo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's
People
perfect.
who use the product.
Yeah. Test
I
Lizzo.
can't imagine like someone in the boardroom who was like, guys, her, she. Like they thought that was the most genius move ever.
Well, that's the same person who put like herstory and
Exactly.
and yeah, and Shiro. Shiro is worse. Or her like hero, but it's her.
MCU.
Yeah, MCU.
When they said MCU, that could have just as easily been feminist coming
Yeah.
up with it.
Yep.
Not
Just-
someone
it's-
making fun of them.
It's what cancer sounds like.
All right, we got one more. He sent me this one last night. Okay.
Someone on Instagram sent me this, I think, and then I sent it to Brett.
Let us watch.
My daughter is picking which college she wants to go to. And right now, the #1 pick is in first place because they offer free movie nights. And this one time, like 5 fucking years ago, they show a Kevin Hart movie before it goes out in theaters. As soon as the credits run, he stands up and does this impromptu comedy show for all the college kids. This may seem like a completely random way to pick a school, but actually, the apple does not fall far from the tree. Because this is how I go to the movies. Free? For me.
The question is that how you get drinks into the movie theater now? If you want to bring alcohol into a
Okay.
movie theater,
The glowing lights under her
was
shirt
just
might be
gonna
a dead
say.
giveaway.
I was like, there's no way those look natural. What?
But
Those are so like it's like hard plastic.
Who's gonna call you out though?
I like
They'll
the
be like,
idea.
Are
there,
those
though.
natural? Like, are they gonna do
I do
that?
like the idea that there's an employee so gung ho that they're gonna like literally
There's
go in.
some
Those are not
theater
real,
manager
ma'am.
out
ma'am."
there who is gonna like have a moment straight out of The Office.
Yep, and that will happen. And like, there's somebody that takes their job that seriously. They made it to manager very quickly. They love working for that theater chain. It's gonna happen.
I mean, this seems like a good idea.
The
for, like,
vodka
festivals.
to cran ratio is crazy in this example.
And we've got one more, a follow up of sorts. Do we not, Marion?
Yeah, we have a follow-up to Spitgate, if you
Ah,
remember
yes.
it.
What was Spitgate?
It's been a while, but when Don't Worry
yeah.
Darling was getting promoed,
Best movie.
most of what was talked about was the drama that happened on set or allegations of things that happened on set. And then when they were at, I believe, Cannes Film Festival, right?
Yeah.
Premiering the movie, there was this shot of Harry Styles going back to his seat, and he just like turns to Chris Pine for a second in a way that makes it look like he just spit on on Chris Pine.
Like he bends
and Chris
over in a way
Pine,
that
like,
isn't normal.
Reacts, and he stops clapping, and he's like, he just reacts like that.
Yeah.
So he's flinching at something.
Well, Chris Pine is saying that this is not what
Now
happened.
Chris Pine is trying to rewrite history. He said Harry did not spit on me.
Yep.
He's a very, very kind guy.
Doesn't mean he's not stupid and just doesn't understand that you're not supposed to spit on people. Harry Styles is dumb.
He also
so it's
said,
completely plausible.
we had this little joke because we're all jet lagged. We're all trying to answer these questions. And sometimes when you're doing these press things, your brain goes befuddled and you start speaking gibberish. But it's just words, man.
I understand that. I do that all the
He's
time.
saying that because Harry Styles seemed to not know anything about the movie when he was asked basic questions.
I mean, if you're
about it.
overtired and you're like, I get the idea there, but I just don't know if I buy that. I would buy Chris Pine being like jet lagged and not knowing what to say. I just don't buy that Harry Styles knows what to say
They're
at all.
both equally media trained. It doesn't make sense that Harry's answers were basically, it was a movie. It was really cool to act in the movie. It's the most movie I've ever movied.
Could you find someone slightly more eloquent? And they're like, no, we cannot find someone slightly more eloquent.
Because
he
Olivia
brings in,
Wilde
like,
likes
22-year-olds.
himbos.
Well, and he brings in the young women demographic.
Does he, though?
He does.
Do young
I don't
women go
know.
to movies to see young men?
Oh, okay, here's a debate that somebody was having
Harry
yesterday.
Styles.
Who's more likely to have a celebrity crush, men or women?
Men, obviously.
I mean, me.
You?
No.
No? You think men?
It's definitely men.
I'm second guessing myself.
Women are the ones with
okay.
posters of like boy
That's-
bands in their room.
Boy bands and like teen idols is a thing. But once you reach adulthood, I think men are way more likely to have like, if you ask them what's your celebrity crush, they immediately have an answer.
But
women don't.
Plenty of couples
No,
have
I
like their list of 5 that they're allowed to cheat on their spouse with if they're together.
Oh, that's awful.
Those people are not couples for long.
No, they're
No.
not. Well, I mean, also they're maybe it's just you respect them because they're pie in the sky dreamers who believe that that's actually going to happen.
No.
They're
I would
I'm
say,
full thumbs down on that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
I would say women are more likely to have a celebrity crush.
that's what I
You
thought.
said men at first. What made you change your mind?
men are just more likely to have a crush in general.
Yeah, they're gonna get a crush on somebody
but
that they're.
celebrity specific, I'm gonna say women because like there's something about the fame and like just the lifestyle too. Men, like if there's a woman that's hot, they're gonna be like,
You can find a hot girl at the grocery store.
Exactly.
That's the thing. Like,
Exactly.
it's so common to see hot women that if you see a genuinely like 10 out of 10 man in your life, that's like a once or maybe twice in a lifetime experience to meet someone that looks like that. But hot women are just all over the place.
I have so many thoughts here.
it's
No,
crazy.
first of all, hot
It's
women are not
crazy.
not all over the place.
They
They're
do.
not.
well,
they are.
less.
For the
It's
most part,
getting.
they are.
It's becoming
No,
more
they are.
rare.
No. The reason, no, they're not, because the average person in America is overweight now.
Yep.
So that means
Sure.
hot women are not everywhere. That means the average person is unattractive.
I see
I mean,
more.
it's also different by age range.
Sure,
but you're right.
People mistake young for hot too. Like a pretty woman
sure.
that's like a pretty woman that's 23, 24. When she's 40, she might not be pretty anymore. Like, but if a woman that is pretty at 40, she was really, really, really pretty at 23.
For sure.
So-
I mean, yeah, the health is definitely makes us unattractive. But
And what makes a man attractive to women, and what would make a woman have a crush on him, is a whole slew of things. It's not just if he's good looking.
right.
Yeah,
It's more
that's what.
complex.
That's all I'm saying. Like looks wise, I think you're more likely to like out on the street find an attractive woman rather than an attractive man.
I see more men in good shape with women that are like not in good. Like I see guys who are like legitimately fit with girls
When are
that are
you
like
going out
overweight. Like
lately?
is it like anytime you go out, if you,
go to the
Target,
nightclubs?
you go to. I'm saying like if you, I'm not talking like out. I'm saying Target where
Mary's
people
just
where you see
dragging.
Dude, but
couples.
Target is a
where you see
great
people where you
place.
see couples together.
Target is just a great place. Period.
Dude,
I
I
heard
got some
a
cuties at Target.
I heard that I saw this.
Who work at Target?
I saw a TikTok. Someone was taught. They were taught like a woman, a young lady was talking to other girls And she essentially was saying, look, I just heard that guys, when they're ready to settle down, they just settle down with whoever they're with. Like, guys don't look for, like, the perfect girl and blah, blah, blah. They don't have all these things that they need, blah, blah, blah. If a guy is with a girl and he's like, okay, I'm ready to settle down, whoever's the girl that he's dating is who he's going to marry. And she was like, this, like, messed with her whole worldview. She's like, what do you mean? Like, he's not my soulmate. I just happen to be in the right place at the right time or whatever.
It's kind of like that.
You know, so that, again, that's another thing. It shows how differently men and women behave towards, you know, relationships.
I like to white pill myself and remind myself that, hey, through all of humanity, for the most, other than like a few instances like Genghis Khan, attractive people meet attractive people and make attractive babies. And this has been the case for hundreds and thousands of years. So, like, we are very unhealthy right now, but we're also the hottest we've ever been, like, as a country, you know.
This gets into like postmodern.
Well, we have the most like
of
beautifying technology, I guess.
Yeah,
that's
and
true
the most
too.
leisure
Have
time
you
to work
guys
out.
seen those?
Women literally turn their faces into something completely different than what it
Have you
is
seen
with
those,
makeup.
the TikTok filter that's going around right now?
Yeah.
Well, if you
It's
go out,
completely changing
women
your
aren't really
face.
wearing makeup when you go out.
I think they are.
I don't really see a lot of women wearing heavy makeup.
But it really
when
depends where you're going. Like,
A guy's idea
and
of
what time.
heavy makeup is probably different than your idea of heavy makeup.
What's your
Like,
idea?
I'm saying like any amount of makeup on the face to a guy might make it look different than what it looks like with no. Like if there's nothing that covers up blemishes at all, is different than just wearing contour and stuff like that.
I don't really know what you're talking about. It doesn't make sense.
Okay. I mean, the point is that I said that women change their face with makeup, and I think that's true.
Men do it with beards, and
Well,
yes,
yeah, I'm just
that is
saying,
absolutely
like,
true.
100%
That is
true.
absolutely true.
When I leave the house, I don't see a lot of women like wearing tons of makeup.
I look exactly the same with and without a beard.
Really?
That's a
Yeah,
lie.
exactly
I
the same.
refuse to believe that. I refuse to believe that.
Of course, it's
I mean,
a lie.
it's relatively short. You don't have like a large beard.
It matters though. It's drastic. Like when you see a guy with like even just a little bit of a beard and they go clean
Yeah.
shaven. It's
We kind of got off track, but I'd seen like all these girls say I liked young Leo DiCaprio, but he's like he doesn't really have it going on anymore.
he kind of is starting to look greasy the
He's
older he gets.
He's looking Cabbage Patch.
So-
It's giving Cabbage Patch doll a little bit, but
He's like a real
know,
soprano is what he's starting to look
if
like.
they date
Older and
him,
older
then
he
that's
gets.
their business, you know. That's their choice.
All right.
Okay. First, we're going to talk about The Idol. It's a show being developed at HBO Max by Sam Levinson. Recently, people have been talking about it because it seems to have been in production hell for a long time. And now we know why. It is because Sam Levinson chose to basically overhaul the show in the middle of production to rewrite and reshoot a bunch of the scenes that he will now like use to insert his perverted obsessions. And what I mean by that is like not just the content of nudity and sexuality that you might expect from a modern show these days, but like going beyond even that level to the point where it's just like made everyone on the production set feel like suspicious of what he's actually doing. So this article from the Rolling Stone has gotten a bunch of anonymous people from on the production to comment on it and like how, you know, the original message and meaning of the show has evolved into just like what they called torture porn. One person said, this quote really annoyed me, and it annoyed Brett too, I know, because he posted on Twitter. They said, "What I signed up for was a dark satire of fame and the fame model in the 21st century. The things that we subject our talent and stars to, the forces that put people in the spotlight, and how that can be manipulated in the post-Trump world. However," they add, "it went from satire to the thing it was satirizing." So, I don't know what they meant by the post-Trump world and how it's any different
Why do
being
they
famous pre and post-Trump. That part was BS. What they were saying about it being a satire, but then becoming what it was satirizing, I totally understand. So like Sam Levinson, if you don't know, this show, they've released a ton of like teaser trailers for it because they're just stalling at this point. But basically it stars Lily Rose Depp and The Weeknd. They also have like other people like Troye Sivan in it. And then Jenny from Blackpink, just like people that are going to get built-in audiences to watch it. But it's about Lily Rose Depp as this pop star. She meets The Weeknd's character, who is secretly a cult leader. And he like starts to take control of the trajectory of her career. So Sam Levinson seems to think that he's about to make the next Eyes Wide Shut. And then, you know, he himself is creating this example of like the lame reality, which is that they're not having these like shadowy, ritualistic masquerade balls. They're just, writing weird, perverted sexual scenarios into TV shows that everyone would feel awkward both filming and watching. Another person on the production said, it was like any R-word fantasy that any toxic man would have in the show. And then the woman comes back for more because it makes her music better.
Who has the R-word fantasy?
They're saying that like it's written from the perspective of a man.
Because the R-word fantasies are not typically the male
R-word.
fantasy.
Well, it's Levinson's for sure. So if you've watched Euphoria, and we like asked this in the poll, did you like Euphoria if you watched
79% say they didn't watch it.
Yeah, I voted no. And to be
Did
fair,
you watch that?
I have not watched an episode, but I've seen trailers. And a while ago, I watched Requiem for a Dream. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but that movie just really that movie messed me up, and I just did not enjoy it. And when it comes to like the depravity of the human spirit with drug use and sex, like it's just not something that, to me, that's a horror movie. To me, that is pure terror.
Would you say Euphoria is the same?
That's
then?
that's what I'm saying. Like Euphoria to me, like I could be wrong. I haven't watched it, but to me, every indication, I've asked people, and they're like, yeah, it's basically all it is. It's just like drugs and nightlife and stuff, and I'm like, I'm not interested.
Well, yeah, I always said this about Sam Levinson on the show, that I think it's weird he would go out of his way in a show about high schoolers to depict them doing all of these weird porn like sexual scenarios that honestly like Gen Z is really not engaging in. They're partying less.
School?
No,
high schoolers are partying less, drinking less, socializing less,
don't believe the polls,
having less sex than previous generations.
Don't believe the polls. They just gave Zendaya $1 million an episode. That's her new contract for that show. So
well, yeah, maybe Gen Z is watching
they are
it,
in love with
but
that.
It's not something realistic.
If they aren't relating, they're
experience.
being inspired.
Like if the justification is that we're putting this on screen because it represents their experiences, that's just not true. Like
if
it doesn't really
if it
bear out
doesn't
in
match
reality.
their experiences, it's inspiring them.
Totally,
like,
yeah.
You know, so
yeah.
I mean,
but
think
it
it's more
weirds
chicken
people
or
out
the
when
egg.
it's like we're watching people that are like playing underage high schoolers
I think
doing sexual things.
It weirds you know, me and you out. I think a lot of people are eating this stuff up. Whatever,
they are, yeah.
They're not even. It's not even.
But it's also a sort of situation
or,
where I think it's playing a psychological trick on the audience, where it's trying to make you feel creepy for watching it, when in reality, like they're the ones thinking up and creating all of this content.
Well, I feel. I like even just like the premise of the show makes me feel creepy.
Yeah.
That's why I have never watched it.
That's why I don't like it.
Uncomfortable. Like
Sam Levinson is like beginning to make a reputation for himself just off of like the shock factor stuff. Just seeing the reaction that he can get out of, you know, putting as much explicit, dark stuff in his shows as possible, and then making anyone who criticizes it think that they just don't understand art.
Right, I
know?
totally believe this one's going to go to the next level because if you've ever seen any of The Weeknd's music videos, they're weird, they're creepy.
Yeah.
There's a high level of detail that goes into making them creepy.
Yeah, The Weeknd seems to want this show to become a show just about his own character. So he totally supported Sam Levinson waltzing into the project and replacing the showrunner that they had before. It said that he was the reason behind the shakeup and wanted to tone down the cult aspect of the storyline and pivot into something else entirely, dropping the, quote, feminist lens through which the show is being told as a result. Quote, it was like The Weeknd wanted one show that was all about him. Sam Levinson was on board with that. So I don't know. I don't think that this show would have been good coming from the feminist lens or from the, you know, narcissistic story about The Weeknd that it was like reshot into. I think it was going to be horrible regardless. And that HBO is just throwing money at anything that Sam Levinson makes because he's the moneymaker of Euphoria and he can do whatever he wants. And that's what a lot of people on the crew ended up realizing. He wasn't even sending information or scripts to HBO executives anymore at some point. And the general vibe was like, you know, what's HBO gonna do? Pull the plug? Yeah, right. If they want a third season of Euphoria, they'll give him what he wants. And we're just gonna shoot what we want. And if HBO has a problem with it, that's on them. So Sam Levinson now has license to just like infect like whatever entertainment he wants with all of these perverted themes that he is obsessed with, and just make it Euphoria season 3 alternative ending.
You know, people say that about at least with the perverted mind. Who's the guy that created American Horror Story? But
I can't remember.
All his shows he creates are real dark and effed up because it's not just like horror. It's always got to be this weird kink that's involved. You know, like there was this one season of American Horror Story where one of the main guys going around killing people wore this leather like sex suit. You know,
Ryan
like
Murphy and Brad Falchuk.
There you go, Ryan Murphy. And I've heard a lot of people talk about him that way. It's just how dark and perverted his mind is now, but he doesn't get the controversy though because he has like a lot of people love working on that show because it's fun.
People get selectively offended about things.
Yeah,
I think.
but he also like knows it's so absurd. You know,
Yeah.
part of it, it's kind of like the Fast and Furious movies. People realize it's ridiculous, but it's fun to make them. It's a fun watch. You know, people are having a good time.
I think like whether you're framing this as you know, it's like a toxic male, you know, enacting his R-word fantasies, or a feminist show about a woman, you know, self-actualizing and like finding herself in her sexuality. Those both of those ideas sound like dog shit to me, and I don't want to watch that.
Right.
And I also find it puzzling that HBO Max is supporting a show like this, which is like at a $75 million budget, both to shoot the first time and all over again a second time, when supposedly Warner Brothers is trying to cut costs right now.
Yeah.
Like massively. And he's just like literally flushing money down the toilet on what they call torture porn.
I was reading an article, and it's a big problem that like these studios, I mean, whether it's garbage like this that they're trying to create, or if it's like what was it, Superwoman?
What about
That got canceled. They got
Batgirl, yeah.
Batgirl.
That's the reason they cut it, though. It's like it's a write-off
But,
now.
you know, like, right. For whatever the reason is, you had this huge team that made this movie, you know, and then all of a sudden there's just one little streaming service. It's like, no. You know, just cut it. And it's just a crazy time that we're in. But we'll see. I think this could get the same treatment because look what's doing so well right now, The Last of Us. They might say, you know, just let this ship sink and focus on that. Get ready for
and
season 2, 3.
And House of the Dragon did really well too.
Yeah, it did. There's something else. I know there's something else.
I don't understand how they make these decisions because, like, it said, you know, Euphoria season 1 had this budget, and with each season they raised the budget, but the quality isn't changing and the content isn't changing. What are you spending the money on then?
actors' contracts?
It's just the salaries of the people working on it. But after all, you know, most of these people,
making more
except
money.
for Zendaya, I would say most of them are known for being on Euphoria, and that's it.
Does HBO have ads or no?
I don't have ads on HBO, but you can get an
But like
ad
if you're
tier
watching
version.
HBO, like if you're watching Euphoria live at 9 p.m. or whenever it airs, is
like
there ads?
on actual
There's no.
HBO, I have no idea. I only have I have HBO Max.
So and there's a way they quantify the increase in subscriptions. There's a way they see how much traffic is going to that
Yeah.
show. So as it gets more and more popular each year.
Yeah. But
You
this
know.
new show, The Idol, it had like $10 million per episode or something for a 6-episode series.
That's not that much.
Why 6 episodes? First of all,
$10 million
Like,
isn't that much.
I'm really sick of seasons of these shows being like shorter and
Yeah.
shorter,
It's
and
annoying.
people still can't like stay on board
But
long enough.
I agree. Yeah, 60. If you think of it as a movie, it's a $60 million budget from a major studio. It's not that. That's pretty tiny.
The average network television episode costs like $7 to $8 million to make.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably more now. That
And
inflation
it's
stuff.
that's not that bad, especially considering Levinson's coming off. Even if it's controversial, he's hot right
Well,
now.
let's get to the controversy. So Levinson wrote scripts that were very disturbing with gross, like, physical violence and weird sexual scenes between Lily Rose Depp and The Weeknd. So it says there were allegedly a scene where The Weeknd bashes in Depp's face and her character smiles and asks to be beaten more, giving The Weeknd's character an erection. This scene was never shot, says Inside Sources. And another scenario was for Depp to, not Johnny Depp, his daughter, to carry an egg in her private parts. And if she dropped or cracked the egg, then The Weeknd's character would refuse to R-word her, which sent Depp's character into a spiral, begging him to R-word her because she believed he was the key to her success. And the only reason that this scene was not filmed was because production couldn't find a way to realistically shoot the scene without Depp having to physically insert the egg.
This sounds like a South Park episode, straight up.
Like the level of absurdity we are reaching. And this source says, it was like, what is this? What am I even reading here? It was like sexual torture porn. And all their sources say Levinson intended to dramatically ramp up explicit content, and that's becoming his calling card. So he, has gotten backlash for gratuitous nudity in all of his other work, and it just seems to be something that he's fixated on continuing and pushing boundaries until someone pushes back, and then he's like, okay.
Does he hate actors and
Like
actresses?
it said like Sydney Sweeney talked about this and like alluded to it without like making him seem like the bad guy. She said there are moments where Cassie, her character, was supposed to be shirtless, and I would tell Sam, I don't really think that's necessary here. And he was like, okay, we don't need it. Like, there would be moments where it was totally unnecessary, and he's just seeing how far he can take things
gonna
before
say,
somebody pushes back.
Yeah, maybe it's.
And
just
usually
like
they won't, because he seems to be like the person, the darling of HBO Max, just because he made Euphoria.
That makes the whole story creepier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's just funny how like these things are selectively enforced,
I mean, if you want to be edgy and write a story about the R word and talk about the things that society wants to talk about, don't make it this absurd story. Like, make it about like some serial, criminal that can't be caught. The detectives are trying everything to find him and they can't catch him. Show the real dark side of something that actually occurs in this world. But this is just ridiculous. Like what you've just read to me.
I mean, it seems like a desperate edgelord.
But it's also like he's lost his flair. Like it's just, it's like, it's not interesting, man.
He found Chloe Cherry for Euphoria by watching her in porn. Like,
what?
who could have
I don't
seen
even know
this
who that
coming?
is, but that's
he's
crazy.
She was the character Faye in Euphoria, and that's basically like how she's launched her career in like mainstream entertainment. But he found her through porn. So like, obviously this guy, has some weird proclivities and fixations that everyone else is like kind of made uncomfortable by, but isn't willing to say anything because he's, the power player.
No, I like him. No, I'm just kidding.
Wasn't HBO though the off limits, like they'll show anything network like historically?
Not. I mean, it was the first like home movie channel, like where you pay and stuff, and so like you would see like I remember when I was like little kid, and like Revenge of the Nerds was on HBO, and you saw like bush and boobs and stuff in the first one, and so but it wasn't like porn.
Right.
I don't think you could ever get actual porn on cable without like paying
Some weird
additional
subscription,
something like that. I think you maybe had like Hustler had it, probably was the first. Hustler and Playboy were the first adult.
Well, the problem now
channels,
is that the distinction between a normal TV show and porn is blurring, not only because of the amount of sexual content that they're putting in mainstream shows, but also because it's so poorly written that normal storylines in normal TV shows are almost as bad as porn storylines. Like it's getting to that point where like it's all blending together.
I have a theory about the quality of entertainment that's coming out, and I don't want to get into it because it might be too political, but like
say whatever.
Well, the thing is, I feel like the whole like the woke stuff is affecting the quality. It's like they're not just are the stories, hitting the points, but the hiring of people that are writing the stories. Like if you're hiring people based on any kind of quota, that means that you're not hiring people based on they can write good stories. So, and I feel like that's something that people are going to be noticing more and more in the entire like world, like not the entire world, but all over the West. Like you're going to notice that the quality of things that you get put together, the quality of service is going to be going down here in the U.S. People already complain about like McDonald's, and like you get your stuff gets messed up at the drive-through. That's going to become the norm for everything. It's harder to get people to come and work on your house, or if you have to get
it's impossible right now. Yeah,
Tim's having all the problem getting the new building built. That's part. I feel like this is all. It is tied in with the supply chain stuff, but I also think that the fact that quality people, quality workers, people that have skill and a high skilled workers, I feel like that's going to be hurting a lot. And
or people who take pride in their work.
Yeah,
think that it means anything.
Well, like Halo, the new Halo, like Halo Infinite, like that's the biggest. It was the biggest video game name ever, right? Everyone knows who Halo is, and Microsoft made a whole ass company just for that game, and they have blown it so bad. It's probably
people are quitting. They're leaving.
Yeah, it's probably worse than they did. They probably 343 probably did worse with Halo than Disney did with Star Wars.
Oh, maybe.
And it was probably set up with an easier delivery.
I think a big part of the problem that we're seeing too is like with we can get into why this is the case, but I think we're seeing quantity over quality in everything,
partially,
in Hollywood, in people ability to make art. I mean, I complain about it because I'm a nerd when it comes to like civil engineering and buildings, and like all the new cities are getting these same little boxes on the hillside, right? The little ticky-tacky apartment buildings, right? They've got shops downstairs, and you're 5 minutes from your work and all that, and it's getting the same treatment here. It's like just they're so quick. Netflix canceled shows after 2 seasons.
To your point about your civil engineer point, that stuff actually turns into dead bodies. That turns into people that die, because if you have engineers that are building buildings and they're not qualified and the building falls down, all those people are dead because of social justice. Because the person
we had to pretend that we don't need competent white men
to
build things that last.
I don't care about like I'm not super. I know that.
Well, I'm saying that because historically in this country it has been competent white dudes that make things. You know. And they work.
Yeah, and the focus on getting someone that has different identity characteristics into job positions does lead to deaths. It leads to failures. It leads to
But
bad.
it also leads to shitty entertainment.
Yes, it makes your whole society suck.
Yeah.
Or suck, be not as good as it could be.
Yeah, I mean, they're just checking boxes and just trying to get the product out, no matter what it is, and everything suffers along the way.
Yeah.
The consumers, the people that, I guess except for the people that made it.
Damn it, I want to like the new Halo. I want to play Halo and I want to like it.
It makes people bitter that we're facing all of these practical problems caused by what you just said.
Yeah.
And then on top of all of that, we don't even have anything actually like good as a distraction from it. You know, like the daily drudge of life. You don't have any good entertainment that can help you escape it anymore. So what are you supposed to do?
It's like the failures of reality peek into your escapism
Yeah.
because it's not as good of a quality escapism.
The weight of good entertainment has been forgotten because it's like people are they want, like with the streaming services, it's like it's totally screwed us. I mean, I'm going to the theaters like once a month, right? That would be enough. And people would be entertained, and they wouldn't be home watching movies for 10 hours a day. You know, like they'd get off their butts, they'd go out to the theaters, they'd give their money to the local community. Someone it would pay, someone's job to fill up the popcorn, take your money, scan your tickets, and that's just being lost. Theaters are not. First of all, they're not showing movies, and if they are, it doesn't matter anyway because the production quality's gone down the drain. So. I don't know. What, Brett? You're the kind of the de facto movie guy expert. I mean, what? If you had a magic wand, if someone was just like, Brett, we need you to come to Hollywood and fix it. What are the first things you're doing?
Less is more.
It's recovering a little this year.
It's not the theaters a little bit, but it's a
in terms of the quantity
problem.
that they're actually showing new things more often. I don't think that the quality of those movies is necessarily getting any better. But I'm just sick of, like, as someone in the audience being toyed with, like being used as some kind of social experiment, you know?
Right.
Like this one crew member said, in terms of like Sam Levinson incorporating all of these weird, like violent and sexual scenes, they said it's such an extreme that there is no message. There is no point. They're just trying to see how much of a reaction they can get. Like, I'm sick of things that pretend to be deep and like point the finger at me for not understanding the point or the message, when in reality it's just like trying to shock me and
but
like
they have to do it this way.
Blind me, you know?
Right. So if they let's say, I know this is a series on HBO, but let's say this was a movie. Right before the ticket sales that they sold would pay for this. That's how they know the movie's doing well. We don't do that anymore. You have a broad subscription to HBO, or you could be watching I watch South Park on HBO, right? I don't watch Euphoria. I've never even heard of this Idol show, right? So the only way they knowing is that engagement, that interaction, that shock content.
The funniest part of this was
the only way that they know they're doing well and they're making money is to get
them
you
getting
to
that
interact.
K-pop star as like a minor character in the show, just so they could put her in the credits.
I didn't know.
She has like 3 lines per episode.
Really? That's
and they
funny.
just put her in the show as like a bait for K-pop stans, so they know are going to come like watch the show because it's a built-in audience and they don't have to rely on the merits of the show actually being entertaining. I'm just sick of all the tricks. Like, just make a good show. It doesn't have to be all this complicated. Let's go to Superchats. Andrew Jacobs said, I start a new job next week. Can listen to PCC all day.
Oh.
That's a nice job. Well, congrats. Halls and the Kid sent us a $1 super chat without a message, and so did Potatoes for Seamus. Thank you. Fresh
Nice.
Meat said, I don't always super chat, but when I do, it's occasionally. Also, I have migraines, so I'm homesick. First time watching live. Machinists in the chat, sound off. Thank you for the big super chat.
Feel better.
Yeah, I hope you
migraines
feel
are the
better.
worst.
Thanks for the
Personally,
crisis party.
I'm a fan of Excedrin.
Hmm.
That's the good
Well,
one.
I had migraines for years, and I always thought I had terrible sinuses, so I thought it was that. I was not drinking enough water. Turned out to be I was just like clenching too hard while I was sleeping, right? And so it's like they're the craziest things because there's so many things that can cause them, and they friggin' suck. They can totally derail your day. So, man, take a nap or something, bud. I hope you feel better.
Yeah. R. Fontanez said, "Please bring back yeet." That's the chat.
The rapper,
or like the word in general.
Or like yeet.
I feel like that was like more of a millennial thing, like when you say that before you throw something in the trash.
I don't know.
Or like Kobe.
Yeah, no, that's the millennial thing. The Kobe is the millennial thing. Yeet is probably Gen Z.
This is probably gonna date me, but what I've been folding back into my lexicon is dope.
Dope, yeah.
Okay.
I like word.
What?
Oh, word.
What was that?
Get a snapback that just says dope on it. I know they're out there.
You know who you gotta ask Serge before you go on IRL again, and just tell him to give you a few words that the kids are saying these days.
And he'll start rolling them off like it's his native
Phil's
tongue.
gonna sound like a little kid that just discovered curse words but doesn't know how to use them yet.
Yeah.
I mean, hold on. I mean, it's not like I'm like using yeet or anything. Dope is
my point.
G. Santoyo said, "Hey Brett, I couldn't find Saint Tom at the supermercado."
Oh.
What is this about?
I'm guessing this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where Hannah Claire found that. Halls and Kid said Tom Cruise on PCC when? Also happy Friday.
Wait, today's
I mean,
Thursday.
I don't know what you're talking about. Tom Cruise is
yeah.
on PCC right now as we speak.
All right, let's hold off on the rest and we will come back.
Okay.
All right.
Next, we're going to talk about the Star Warsification of the Lord of the Rings. It's looking like nightmare fuel so far. Basically, Amazon and Warner Brothers are going to be battling it out for who can ruin the Lord of the Rings in a worse way. I already saw this comment from Amazon executive Jennifer Salke, who is still shilling for Rings of Power. She said, "We'll see. We love our original series. We're extremely proud of it and invested long term. So we definitely think there's enough fan love to sustain ours for a long time." Meaning she thinks Rings of Power has enough fandom to continue for many seasons down the line, which they already are contractually obligated to do.
There's enough.
But she's like delusional enough to still be telling us that they have dedicated fans.
I feel like she's saying the fans love Lord of the Rings enough where we can fuck up 3, maybe 4 more times
And they'll thank us.
before the juice is no longer there. Yeah, you're right. And they'll thank us.
I'll ruin the content that you love, and you will thank me and be happy, or else you're a bigot.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like the media, the entertainment press will write glowing reviews. The fans, a lot of the fans will hate it, and they'll call those fans all the terrible
That's exactly
names.
what it was. Yeah. I saw like so many positive reviews for Rings of Power while it was still releasing, and it was just they were like in March in lockstep to support a mega corporation's bastardization of the original works.
I'm curious as to how many new viewers Rings of Power attracted. Like, how many people were not fans of Tolkien?
We talked about this.
I haven't.
And they like
watched any.
astroturfed the numbers on purpose. They hid the drops week to week on purpose and like obscured the numbers, fudged the numbers so that it would look like, it was growing steadily. They also delayed the time it took for bad reviews to show up on the page. What was it? Like a whole week?
Probably all
72 hours.
This is all tied to the whole, like, if this doesn't do well, our streaming service is probably going to die.
Well, no.
They said it has to do well.
Yeah.
Like they have no other choice but to make it at least seem like it's succeeding.
Yikes.
And
Well,
that's why she's like,
Amazon has problems. I mean, Brett can tell you how much he hates their player, but like they really don't have content, and that subscription,
unless they buy it.
But that subscription only used to pay for Amazon Prime, like the free 2-day shipping. And then they're like, oh, but you also get like this catalog of movies and TV to watch. So it's like they're bleeding. They really do. I mean, if I've ever heard a someone speak the truth, it's we need this to work, and that's
What did they spend on this series again? Like $250 million?
500 million.
No, yeah, 500 million
Total?
altogether because of the first of all, like what they paid the estate, Tolkien's estate for the property.
Oh.
Not the entirety of it,
It was
but
like $1
part
billion
of it.
all in, but 500 million, yeah, after paying.
But yeah,
off.
$250 million just for the
$1
production itself.
$1 billion for something that everybody hates.
Yeah, and they also in their contract with the estate are required to continue it for at least 5 years, I think. So, yeah, and also I was like shocked at the time that they hadn't even started filming the second season when the first season was out, which is not normal. Like you're normally, if you have faith that a show is going to continue, you're already filming the second season before the first season
it's a trend
is
we're
finished
seeing, though.
releasing.
You know, streaming services will drop you after a season or two, and there will be 2 to 3 year gaps in between seasons.
Yeah.
I don't know who started this trend, but it's very common now.
Yeah.
Many, like Stranger Things was like 2 years before in between its last 2 seasons. Something ridiculous like that.
Next Walking Dead territory of like people just begging you to end the show.
Yeah. I mean, at a certain point, if it's taken that long, I lose interest, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, especially if it's, I mean, it's a story that you're supposed to be keeping up with. It's like,
yeah.
I lost interest a long time in Stranger Things. But most people like lost interest in The Walking Dead at like season 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we already mentioned this before on the show, but Warner Brothers they've confirmed they're planning to do more Lord of the Rings movies, and any Lord of the Rings fan was just like cringing at that because, you know, like no matter who does it, it's basically guaranteed to be mishandled. Peter Jackson was the only person that could have done it, and that's just luck, honestly. So they said there are no scripts yet, but
I don't know if it was luck. I think that technology was limited 25 years ago, so he was forced to create things in a creative manner that
more practical
effects.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's luck at all. I think that now,
well, I mean, like the luck of finding someone who genuinely enjoys the source material and like doesn't despise Tolkien as a person. You could never find that these days.
You could still find that person, but it wouldn't matter because they're not going to have the final say anyways. The studio and the executives will have the final say, and that will become more important. So even if you find people that actually love the material, it doesn't really matter if the executives don't.
An inside source told The Hollywood Reporter that Warner Brothers hopes to turn The Lord of the Rings into a Star Wars-like franchise. That should tell you everything. If you know, like, if you're a Star Wars fan out there, like, and you know what Disney has done to Star Wars, it seems like a death knell for The Lord of the Rings as well. That they're going to make it into a cinematic universe. Disney, anything they touch, they want it to be a cinematic universe, right? So I just watched the first episode of The Mandalorian's 3rd season last night, and
There's 3 seasons now of The Mandalorian.
yeah, it's crazy how we've gotten this far. And there are parts of that 3rd season that you just can't understand context-wise if you didn't watch Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
They're doing that on purpose so that it's sort of like the MCU. Like, you have to do your homework to understand what's going on. For instance, like the ship that the Mandalorian is in, like, you wouldn't know how he like got that ship if you didn't watch Boba Fett. Like, the expectations are going up for the viewers, and the expectations for the people making the content are consistently just dropping. Like, they don't have to put in any effort.
See, no, but you know, as
Thank you.
that one got me. Yeah, the money gods.
Oh man.
You know, I'll let the Crisis Party finish.
You just give it its moment, you know.
All right. So as you were like talking about all that, I was just thinking about how much work that takes to like keep up with the story. But then I realized, you know, these kids, you know, we already talked about how obese people are.
Yeah.
Youth sports are dying. This is what kids are doing. Right? This is what the
watching
young
Star
crowd,
Wars.
like this, they have the time and energy. This is their hobby. They're invested. They love watching The Mandalorian and then going to the Book of Boba Fett and then going
I feel
back.
like they're more so watching like Twitch streamers.
They're
and then
also
the
doing
Disney
that.
Star Wars content.
But that's
is
what I'm
for
saying is
millennials.
they live on the internet, like YouTube, Twitch,
And
HBO,
they also haven't even
Hulu.
likely been introduced to the original Star Wars movies. So what
they
makes
don't even
them
know what a
care
VHS
about this?
player is. Like, yeah, and someone, I forget who's I had this conversation with, and someone was like, you got to remember what Star Wars did for us as a kid. You know, whether it was the originals, the prequels, or the current day, they've always been made for children. The people who grew up with them in the 70s and 80s did not like the prequels. I grew up with the prequels. I liked them. You know, like I they're not the best. I will never say that, but I won't trash them. You know, I enjoyed them, the movies I grew up with. And then the kids growing up today with the new movies, I don't even know what the name of them for the
sequel trilogy,
the Rey
Yeah.
trilogy, I guess.
F you Star Wars fans.
I mean, they're making it for kids, you know, and I think people are trying to hold on to it because they grew up with it at one point.
No, because the storylines for both the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy made sense. The storyline for the sequels, none of it made sense. It's the J.J. Abrams set them up for something, and then Rian Johnson took that something,
And-
laid it on the ground, and pooped all over it, and peed all over it. And then J.J. Abrams came back and said, what the F am I supposed to do with this? And tried to make it look like a story again, but it was like Frankenstein's story, and it was a mess and garbage.
But I
It was
still think
all
their
bad.
focus.
But most people don't even care about that though, because they're not even paying attention to the story. They just like turn on the movie or the
Yeah.
TV show and turn brain off.
Most people are dumber than average.
But I
The
think
Rise of Skywalker made less money, so I do think I do think the actions have consequences, and that's really
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy's fault for not being more rigid and actually overseeing the story writing process to make the
Kathleen
trilogy,
Kennedy?
to make the sequel trilogy with no actual plan is a very 20 something.
I think I said this before on the show, but there is legitimacy to the argument that original fans make when they say, "Look, the sequel trilogy robbed the way that they did it robbed us of the chance to see Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, and Han Solo in the Millennium Falcon with Chewie and C-3PO and R2-D2, and it's gone forever because
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher passed away." Like that should have been the first thing that they did. J.J. Abrams should have been like, I am going to deliver the scene that everybody wants, and I'm going to do it probably at the beginning of the third act in the movie that I'm doing.
glad you
That's what
said
he should have
that.
done.
I'm glad you said that because I was just gonna say they should have you in mind, Phil, when they're writing these movies, right? And you and your peers. They should have Brett in mind. They should have me in mind, but they don't.
Yeah,
They don't. They have
don't.
10-year-olds in mind. Even if the movie isn't a kids movie, that's who they're making them for. So it doesn't
Selling
need
the
to make
toys,
sense.
selling the Halloween
no,
costumes.
the toys sold horribly, so they didn't even do that well.
That's why they made Grogu, though. You know,
Like
sell
Lego.
Christmas toys.
Lego's a good example of a company that realized that their target audience grew up. Like their customer base grew up. But the kids nowadays, they're playing Legos, but it's on the phone. Like they're playing Lego Star Wars the video game.
Yeah.
They're not playing. They're not building Lego ships physically, right? And so Lego adapted. They're making the Skylines thing. They're making model White House you can build, right? You can make a 3D globe out of Legos because
Can
they
you make
realized
a Lego Capitol building and
They did.
Lego
Someone actually got-
stage an insurrection.
someone got in trouble that was
Of
at
it.
January 6th. They got in trouble because
They made that. Yeah, they did.
recently
Oh, I
bought
remember
a
that.
Lego model. Yeah. But Lego adapted. Not everything, but a large portion of their business is still targeting the people that it did in the 80s and the 70s, right? But Star Wars isn't doing that.
Yeah. It looks like this is just going to
Disney's
get
not doing
maybe more confusing than DC in the near future because Amazon's content and their rights to develop the Rings of Power series and anything that, spins off from that is going to be totally separate, like story-wise, from anything Warner Brothers makes.
Yep.
So then you have to ask yourself, like, what from this is canon? If you were paying attention the whole time, you would know none of it is. But, like, I just think it's a sin in and of itself to make something mediocre. Rings of Power sucked. It was awful. If Warner Bros. Makes mediocre to moderately good or serviceable movies in the Lord of the Rings universe, I think that's still kind of doing it a disservice, because the person who made it originally was great and you're not great. I don't think that we like have the capacity for greatness anymore. That's why you're riding the coattails of stories that people are dedicated to get eyes on it. Like, you can't just make something new.
People are also more focused on building like a crazy outlandish story than they are actually building characters. And it's like, if you build really good characters, you write really good characters, the story writes itself,
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've lost that. I can't name like any really iconic new characters in the last few years.
John
that have
Wick.
been created. He's old though, man. They've put out 4 movies.
In Hollywood terms, 10 years is nothing.
Sure. John Wick, good example.
2014,
Good
so less than
example.
10 years, 8 years.
Well, we're going to talk about that
Yep.
a little more later.
Yep.
For now, let's go to Super Chats.
do it.
Wayward Soul said, Portland 2008, I saw a guy who looked like Van Wilder holding hands with a woman who looked like Danny DeVito as Penguin. Eye of the Beholder.
Okay.
I guess that's an internal conversation. James Orthel once said, I thought Wine Mom filled her booze bra with scissor.
Nice.
I think it was vodka cranberry.
Oh man.
But we'll need to fact check that. Steve Ryman said from Hamlet, I have heard of your paintings too well enough. God hath given you one face, and you make yourselves another. If thou wilt needs marry a fool, for wise men know well enough what monsters you make of. I can't see the rest of that. And I haven't memorized Hamlet. What does the rest of it say?
What monsters you make of them.
Oh, could have guessed that. Nate Parrott said, no, give Gary credit. Gary of Nerdrotic was the person who coined the term MCU. Feminists and Marvel shills are using it unironically to take power away from the phrase.
I haven't heard any feminists using it. I always just assumed it was.
I've seen
I mean, it's
parody
just,
accounts.
It's just
using
Gary.
it.
It's just Gary's in that.
If we're getting to the point where Hershey's is calling it Hershey, it could pass either way. Johnny Beck sent us a thumbs up. Thank you. Disco Jensen said, degenerates with a platform and production crew spreading their message is really nothing new, but modern content has drifted so far from art that it's just fetish material. Yeah, I mean, if it's fetish material, though, just can you call it that and not try to like frame me as the dunce for, not understanding your artistic message? That's what annoys me. Luis Aguilar said, what is your favorite song that you've discovered on TikTok or Reels? Mine is It's a Rap by Mariah Carey.
There's these like 2 old British dudes that rap on TikTok. And they just go.
My money doesn't jingle jingle.
in.
It folds. I like the way you do wiggle wiggle, right?
Is that
show.
Yeah. What it is?
think
Probably.
so.
I think
don't
so.
remember.
Yeah, I like that song, actually. Now that
I
you
do too.
mention it.
Yeah.
What else?
I ain't never been with a baddie. That one I forget.
There are a
that
ton
one.
of old songs that pick back up again because they're getting used in like edits on TikTok.
I don't know what happened. There's a song that All That Remains did that is 10 years old or older, and for some reason it has jumped to like number 2 in our
Really?
Spotify thing. And I have no idea because it's like
It's got to be social media.
yeah,
right?
it's an intro too. It's like the song itself is like a minute and a half, so it's just a breakdown. So someone
Interesting.
picked up a breakdown.
Yeah, someone put it. There's a TikTok out
Something.
there somewhere with a bunch of views.
Spotify's
Yeah,
going
probably.
crazy
Yeah.
for it. and I'm
Have
like,
you looked at TikToks under your songs?
I haven't.
That's a
myself,
great
to be
idea.
honest with
You should look at it and
great
like
idea.
do a reaction to
We
it.
do a bit.
Yeah. Bobcat said, anyone else notice how low energy IRL has been lately? Phil hasn't blown out my eardrums in over a week.
I'm trying my best to keep that kind of stuff on the chill because I don't want to come off too strong early. I'm still kind of easing my way in. There's already people that are hating on me, and I'm
Really?
oh yeah, they're just like, I hate him.
Well,
hate him.
they'll send hate to anyone.
Yes, they
Right.
will.
They also,
Absolutely.
this guy doesn't know what he's talking about because if you've been watching IRL this week, Ian's been going in. He's been
Oh, yeah?
great. he's been super high energy. So
What has
I
he been
mean,
talking about?
everything. Yeah, who knows?
Is this just usual Ian? I mean,
It's
usual
very-
Ian, but he's just been on it.
intense.
He's been intense, like all week long.
There's been a lot of times when I'm like, oh no, no. We need to hold on.
close that chapter.
Yeah, we need to think about this, Ian.
I see Phil just blesses himself quietly.
I haven't
I love
seen
him.
IRL lately, so
I love him.
we'll have to see. Bobcat said all the quality workers are either working jobs that don't appreciate them or they're among the homeless in the Bidenvilles. I haven't heard that term before. Saverick said the greater the polarization, the greater the union. I'll need context on that, I guess.
One more,
Alistair-
and then let's move on.
Okay. Alistair Payne said, speaking of degeneracy, the sex scene in Halo.
Yep.
I didn't watch Halo.
Yeah.
What was that about?
It was bad.
What was
that upset me? They
Why
can't
did
even
it
do their
upset
show
you?
right. Because why is Chief, dude?
Okay, so wait, what's this about, like a Master Chief and his helmet?
Yeah.
Like,
Chief is
why-
a genetic anomaly. Like he was experimented on as a child. He shouldn't be. There shouldn't be any sexual drive.
Okay.
There shouldn't have ever been a sex scene. It's impossible.
Isn't
Yeah.
that just the same thing as like a Mandalorian that can't take their helmet off?
Correct. Maybe.
It's exactly the same thing.
I mean,
like,
he
I
can
really don't
take his
even get it
helmet
because, like, if you're a Mandalorian, sorry, separate thing, but like, if you're a Mandalorian, like, how do you like shower? You know?
You just can't take it off in front of people.
Yeah.
Oh, you can take it off alone.
Yeah.
The Chief would take off his
Okay.
helmet from time to time, but it would always be off camera in the video games.
Okay.
In the show, I mean, you just have, it's one of those things that you kind of accept when they announce they're going to make it a show. You kind of accepted, like, all right, you're going to have to see the face.
You shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't
You
have
think?
to accept that at all.
But it's a TV show,
I
and
don't
he's the
care.
main
do
character.
you guys know if
Don't care. The helmet is more iconic. The helmet
It
doesn't.
is, but-
his face has literally no bearing on the show. Pedro Pascal's face has no bearing on the show. People know
okay,
the
that's my
helmet.
question. Like, in Mandalorian, is that just a double for Pedro Pascal and he just does voice?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much of it is him and how much of it
I mean,
is him.
he's got to have a tight schedule, so like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past them to just have a double for him if he's wearing the helmet.
I mean, maybe not. I mean, it depends on how much a lot of actors.
And then they would
wanna
lie
be
about it, of
there.
course, right?
I read stories that Pedro was making remarks about wanting the helmet off.
Yes, he did.
So
he wanted more FaceTime.
Well, it's valuable for him.
you picked the wrong. You said yes to the wrong
Yeah.
role, then
Yeah.
Pedro.
Yeah.
And then
Dummy.
also to roast Halo, like they have a human queen in charge of the aliens, which doesn't make sense.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's stupid.
All
and
right.
and then the worst part about it was they said, "Oh well, we're doing this in a different timeline." I'm like, "Oh cool." So now it just doesn't even count.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like cool. I don't care at all.
Yeah,
Yep.
100%. Now, and what's so upsetting is just because when they do finally decide to have a fight scene after like 3 hours of
It was
dialogue,
bad.
like it's cool. You see Chief flying through the air, and you see the potential. You see the spark, and it's just like, who's in charge of this thing?
I mean, it's kind of obvious that it's possible to make a compelling action sequence in a computer nowadays. So
Well,
it's
sure,
it was
sure,
never
sure.
like, can they pull it off? They can. Nowadays, it's like, just can you get someone that will write a story that people will give a shit about?
right.
That's really the thing. Because, I mean, special effects and stuff now, it's like if you've got a decent budget, you know that it's going to look great.
They
You know,
should
it's
just-
gotten to the point where it doesn't take big movie budgets to make a movie that looks good. That stuff is spent in other
They should
places.
just use
you
the
know?
original campaign missions as the shell
That
for
would be
each
great.
episode.
That would be great.
So you already have cutscenes and dialogue to build off of.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna move on. Next, it looks like Netflix is producing a documentary about Pornhub called Money Shot.
Nice.
It is going to be featuring interviews with performers, activists, and past employees, and offer a deep dive into the successes and scandals of Pornhub as a company. My first thought is because Netflix is a direct competitor to Pornhub and vice versa, they have an interest in producing content that makes Pornhub look bad, right? In damaging their public image.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this, like Netflix, YouTube, all of these streaming platforms and porn platforms, they're all direct competitors with each other. And I think one interesting thing that this trailer points out, they released it yesterday, is that they're also in the same business as Facebook. They are just farming people's personal data and selling it. That's all it really is, and like they're finding the most efficient ways to do that.
I have no idea how to do this at all, but there's got to be a way for people to own their data and not have it be just consumed by social media companies or big tech companies and make a profit off it. There should be some way that
I mean, the
make
cat's out of the bag, though.
No,
that would have been a smart idea, right?
The
But
EU has
isn't it
legislation.
over?
The EU has legislation that they can't. So they can pass laws, but they haven't.
Yeah.
But there are also things that they, of course, are going to hide from the government.
Well, yeah, but that's the argument for every law.
Yeah.
There's always going to be people who don't follow the law.
If there were a way that like people could control their own data and control which parts are sold, and then also profit from it, like, that would be cool. But I just sound like Ian right now.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, I get what you're saying, but that's the thing. It's like your data is very profitable. Like it's very valuable. Like the things that you do, that information is valuable, really valuable to companies like Facebook and Google. These are the biggest companies in the world, and they've gotten that big because the data they collect. First of all, they collect a lot of it, yes, but that data is valuable to marketing firms and stuff like that. There should be some way for people to share in that because they're the ones that are the product that's being sold.
Imagine an inside look at their analytics and just like the trends that they're able to tell, because it's billions of people and just like their daily lives mapped out, like.
And even people like myself that I try to, like, whenever my phone asks, hey, can you track? It's like I'm always saying no, and I'm always like, or only when I'm using the app, and I still, that I'm generating tons and tons and tons of data.
And that's all new, right?
Yeah.
So like, on every website, Mary, it's like, oh, this website uses cookies, and it's like accept or deny, right? That's fairly new. That's all, wasn't around 5 years ago, so.
I want you to know what you guys think. Like, is there an organic interest in like learning about the secrets and scandals and successes of Pornhub? Because like a lot of these comments on the trailer are saying, I lost my favorite series on Netflix after 1 or 2 seasons for this to be what they put out next.
Yeah,
like,
I you know what I would watch?
Is it relevant?
I would watch them like doing like a Dirty Jobs type show, but it's like just like the guy who's in charge of the server room for Pornhub, just to see, because it's one of the biggest
or the moderators
websites in the world. So imagine all the traffic. I mean, they're probably just using like a data center, like Amazon Web Services or something, but that's what I would be interested in, just seeing how something that does have such an impact operates, but like. That's not really porn related. It has nothing. It's just kind of like the size of them.
Yeah. So this is obviously going to be touching upon trafficking. That's a loaded word these days. But it said one of the interview subjects in the trailer said, knowingly profiting from sex trafficking is what we believe they are liable for. The more I explored, the more aghast I became. I found too many cases of kids whose worst moments were preserved in amber. So it's going to be talking about that serious issue, and then like contrasting it basically with like people who have made porn into their like work from home COVID job.
I don't think they're.
It's difficult because there are going to be people interviewed in this documentary who say literally like one of them said, if it wasn't for porn, I wouldn't be alive.
Right.
Excuse me?
Yeah. Do you think that we could like play the trailer, or would that be copywritten?
Brad looks so scared when you asked him that.
Stink bug.
I don't know. I don't know if you can like really.
And they're also making this into like
trafficking.
kind of a censorship scare. So I find it ironic when a lot of people start like talking about censorship only in the context which befits them and like their profit margin.
Yeah.
So like if anyone suggests that maybe we should like do something, nothing specific, but like something that could prevent children from either being on content on these sites or watching the content on these sites, they immediately say like, look who's, censorship trigger happy now. It's the conservatives. Meanwhile, like I think all that we want to do is be able to tweet our opinions.
Right.
And that's not comparable. So like one of the people in the interview said, it's not an attack on porn, it's an attack on people being able to express themselves. Which is such a stretch of like mental gymnastics, in my opinion.
I think it's not even Pornhub that should really be blamed, with what you're talking about. It's more so the social media companies and we like ourselves to blame as a culture, because it's like, it's not just the fact that Pornhub exists. The fact that you go on Pornhub, you see all the stuff that you see. Then you go to Twitter and you see the same stuff. And then you go to Facebook and you see the same stuff. Then you go to TikTok and you see the same. Every single social networking site is filled with it. So it's like, that's the issue.
Twitter and Pornhub are the worst. Like there are like guardrails on TikTok.
Facebook's bad because it's people live streaming them murdering people. It's like, it's just the worst of human acts.
Yes.
On these social websites.
People get addicted to violence videos too. Like that's
I used to love watching like the road rage videos of people just getting mad and like they'll get out and then they'll punch like someone's taillight and stuff.
That's what I've been noticing recently is like so many fight videos on social media. Especially like, I don't know if I'm getting like algorithmically targeted by Twitter or whatever, but I see tons of fight videos on my feed all the time.
It's also high school fights though, and high schools have always...
but I see them like teachers and students fighting.
That's weird, yeah.
Students targeting teachers, targeting students. I see like, basically, like you said, Brett, like bum fights type content, except no one is getting paid for it. Like people are fighting in the streets for free. I see this all over my feed on Twitter. I don't know like what that's about, if that's like specifically trying to like make people angry. Like I don't know. I probably click on them too much and that's like worsening the problem, but
the more you click on things, the more you'll get shown that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that there is probably a certain level of awareness that people have, or raised awareness that people have nowadays, because there is a narrative that crime is up. Apparently, if I understand correctly, crime has been up the past couple of years. The whole ACAB sentiment is having serious, results or serious consequences. If you want to call it blowback or whatever, that's fine. But so I think that it's probably that people are filming that stuff more. I don't know that it's happening more, because I think that there's probably, like 3 years ago, there was probably enough crime where if people were filming it and putting it up on the internet, it would seem the same, right? So I don't think that there's, I think people are capturing it more because they feel like there's more crime and it's more,
remember like cringe compilations used to be videos that people like took of somebody else.
Yeah.
And now all cringe compilations are people recording themselves doing humiliating things.
I don't get that, man.
And that's how they end up in the cringe compilation. Like you're doing it to yourself.
So something that's fueling though all of this isn't a new concept. Like the Anchorman movie makes fun of this, about how people want to see shocking things, right? And they just made it easy. Now everyone's got a smartphone, and you can get monetized in seconds. The people, they pull out their phone when they see someone fighting because they're hoping that this is going to be the video that gets 5 million views.
I don't know what it means, but it's provocative.
It's a nice little, it's a nice little payday for people,
I guess so.
But
not worth it.
I mean, listen. You're weighing your options. I could take out my phone from a safe distance and film and potentially make money, or I could intervene and potentially get punched in the face.
Yeah.
Those are the options people are weighing.
Yeah. Back to the documentary.
Oh yeah, back to Pornhub.
What we were talking about. Because it's being produced by Netflix, a direct competitor of Pornhub, my expectations for like what information can actually be uncovered in this documentary are low. Like this is the same streaming service that platformed Cuties. Like, are you really on a moral high ground to be pointing fingers at anybody else for hosting content that exploits children when you've done the exact same thing? you know?
I don't think they're doing it from the point of a moral high ground. I think they just see it as a market to fill. People might find watching this interesting. I don't think Netflix
maybe.
has a concept of whether it's right or wrong.
Well, there's also, I think, a trend, like maybe in the 90s or something, it was a trend to become more aware of like, you know, where your food comes from or something. And then like Pam Anderson made a PETA ad where she has lettuce over her boobs or something. Like that, you know, that was a trend back then. And now maybe it's more of a trend to know where your entertainment comes from. So whether it's adult content or mainstream normal content, it is just a trend to like see the behind the scenes, you know, scandals of that.
Also, it's just cheaper to make these than it is to make make
$18.99.
Then they were talking about like, why did my favorite show get canceled?
Yeah, those were like most of the comments actually on the trailer. They were like, I can't believe that you canceled Mindhunter, you canceled $18.99, you canceled Warrior Nun, all of these other shows that had followings, and then what you come back with is is a documentary about Pornhub that's actually made to fill you with fear and loathing for the world. Yeah. Like the content of that documentary is not supposed to make you feel any better about where society is at. And it's certainly not escapist entertainment. I mean, it depends on your taste. Maybe for true crime people,
many documentaries.
It's funny actually that like true crime is now escapist entertainment when it is talking about real world evil events, because that would make me feel worse about my life.
When do you think Netflix starts paying for podcasters?
I mean,
when do you think you start seeing like just like Spotify?
They'd be
like
remiss not to, right?
When do you think that starts happening? Because you know it's inevitable, right?
I don't know. They're trying to make video games, aren't they? Didn't you hear about that?
That was old news, though, wasn't that? From, like,
yeah, but it totally failed. I don't really get their direction because, like, you try to make video games on Netflix before you tried to have audio content.
Yeah. I don't know either, but they have enough documentaries.
But it would give,
every
I think
day
for
it's
them,
a new
it would
documentary
give
about something super specific that I don't care about.
Podcasts, it would give the creators too much power, and they want to keep control of it. You know, like that's why they give a contract, like a production deal to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Like they're establishment people that you can trust to make establishment content. You're not gonna let a freaking like Joe Rogan on use your platform and your name to. I mean, obviously he has Spotify, but he had to make huge concessions for that. He had to delete so much of his own content from his library of podcasts, which a lot of people thought was hypocritical, just to be hosted by Spotify because it's an incredibly lucrative deal for him.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't see them like venturing to podcasting anytime soon for that reason alone.
I understand. Yeah, and they're a lot less lenient than Spotify when it comes to what they allow on their platform.
Yeah, which is ironic because once again they had cuties on their platform.
Well, you know,
it had relatively few consequences.
There was this idea because like Cuties wasn't an American show.
It was French.
It was French.
Those
right,
weird
that's what
Frenchies.
I was gonna say there was always like this assumption, you know, from I remember growing up, like the French are like these artsy naked people. Like that's just what they do. They do weird stuff and they're naked.
They lose
like,
wars.
You know?
They don't shower that much.
And so I don't know why people are so outraged that the
dessert.
French did it again. You know, like, but.
Yeah, that's why their spiritual successor is the Canadians.
There's one thing to do something like this though, where you're offending people and it's just inappropriate content like Cuties. But it's another thing like I just don't understand who in the room is like, yes, people want to watch this. Like, this is what people are dying to see.
Postmodernists.
Yeah. I don't even know if I'll watch it because like if you've been paying attention, like you already know all of this stuff about Pornhub anyway.
Yeah.
Like.
I keep hearing, okay, so to be fair, I keep hearing these stories and I see it's all empty words. It's all just accusations without any substance. Like, where are the lawsuits? You know, where are the actual, maybe we'll see in this documentary.
I'm not an expert in it by any means. I just know of like, there are certain individual cases where people have had to sue Pornhub for them to remove content of their exploitation from the platform. which made money because they have advertisers and stuff like
So
that.
I've
So
saw
that's
a
like,
similar
it's not
story.
really a theory. Like, it's not a conspiracy theory that happened. It has happened and presumably still does happen because they haven't really changed the way they do business at all since then.
It's
like,
tough though. Do you
Pornhub?
think-
They haven't. I
Didn't
mean,
they-
yeah, they
didn't they make
removed all the
everybody verified?
non-verified
Yeah.
content, but their verification process is not a verification process. It's just you hold up a piece of paper and
But would you blame?
send them a picture of it. I don't know. It's just
So,
dumb.
This is, I mean, yes, like they're a video hosting website, but they're more or less just, erotic YouTube. So like,
And now Twitch is basically becoming like half.
hey, TikTok and Twitch, it's
softcore
so
porn
gross.
in
No,
a
that's all
way.
it is. It's just
Like,
lewd.
Twitch
it's,
is
It's you do everything up until the line. And
If
it's
there's
just,
a
it's weird,
pool
'cause they have
in
these
sight,
kids all,
then you can wear a
they're,
bikini.
like Twitch is full of OnlyFans models
It's
that are
TikTok,
promoting their OnlyFans, and communists that are literally calling for violent revolution. And for some reason,
And then on the
this
side
is all
you have
acceptable.
like Aiden Ross talking to Andrew Tate or something.
Yeah, right.
That's basically all you got.
Jesus.
well, he got banned from Twitch, I think. or
Aiden Ross
something
did?
recently. Something happened with him. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Permanently?
So he's gone. Yeah, I think so.
I watched a
think
moist
it's
critical video about it the other day. I don't know if it was a
I think it's a
perma-ban.
perma ban.
Yeah.
for as of right
Trans
now.
communists can try to
Wow.
supply drugs, hormones to underage children on Twitch. That's perfectly fine. But
Well, let's move on to super
Let's
chats.
do it.
Unusable Alpaca said, Kids is another crazy movie in the same vein as Euphoria with teen sex and drug use.
The documentary about the making of Kids is crazy. You
What
should
is-
watch it. I don't remember what it's called, but yeah, Kids is a 90s movie. Everyone should watch that if they have a chance.
Bro Cody said, Hey Phil, took your advice from yesterday's after show and stocked up on pew pews. Indy Uke said, How did you stop clenching your jaw in your sleep?
Oh, that's a good question. So, I mean, you do physical therapy for that, but you also just need to practice. You know, a lot of times if you're stressed,
Meditation.
a lot of times if you're stressed and you just go to sleep, and your body will find a way to relieve that stress and that tension.
meditation's awesome.
Yeah.
It's not just for hippies.
Get
Yeah.
like a mouth guard or something.
Yeah, I don't use it. I don't really need it, but I do have one. But no, I mainly just got some like face massages for like a month or two, and that seemed to.
I know
Fix
people that
it.
my ex-girlfriend would get Botox in her.
Yeah, so that
brain.
was like, if this didn't work, that was the next step, and I'm not a fan of that. I don't want to like inject myself with stuff.
She
you know?
if she doesn't get the Botox, the headaches get real bad,
So it's
it's
probably like a muscular headache for her.
Yeah, and even still, she does have she gets them.
Really?
She'll get
Still?
migraines without even when she's gotten the Botox, but the Botox helps a lot.
I
so.
wonder why. Maybe they're just being very like cautious with how much they're giving her, because it paralyzes the whatever wherever you're injecting it. So it's like, I don't think that skin and that tissue comes back. I could be wrong though. I'm not.
This next one, I'm going to need your help to interpret, Phil. Bad Adam 12 said, Phil, I'm bringing back groovy Hepcat mods and rockers. What does
No.
any of this mean?
No, he's talking. I think he's talking about dressing up like what's the name? Like ska bands, like the Hepcat rockers and
Dark.
Yeah. So I disapprove. If that's what you're talking about, if I understand you correctly, I disavow. Sorry.
Chris
Sorry.
Lowry said, Phil, I feel your pain regarding Halo Infinite. That's why I play CE through Reach.
No,
I
that's,
never finished Infinite, never will. Long live Bungie and rock on, dude.
Cheers. Yeah, I agree. Like I played CE, I played 2, I played 3. 4 and 5 were rough, but all the stuff that Bungie did, like once they put out 3, and then they put out like Reach, and they put out what was it, ODST? Those were cool and fun too. It's just that when 343, the company that was literally created specifically to do justice for this property, They just blew it.
The worst part is Forge, which for you guys, if you don't know what Forge is, it's basically like you get to create your own map. You can build a house if you want to. You can build a school. You just create your own map.
It's like Minecraft for Halo.
Yeah, and so people, like, if the original base game that they created was nonsense, at least there's a fallback option. But that didn't even come out. I don't know if it's out yet. And the game's been out for a year and a half.
They released without zombies. It didn't have Griffball. These game types aren't difficult to do. Like, zombies shouldn't be super hard to program, you know? So
Jacob Edler said, Rings of Power is just another psyop to continue lowering our standards so that audiences celebrate trash. Passing it to you for a rant now, Mary.
Go.
I mean, okay, honestly, it's been so long since we were like watching and reviewing Rings of Power that I don't even remember my anger about it anymore. But what I do remember was like the media saying that it was getting review bombed and it was getting like dislike bombed and all of this stuff. People were deciding that they disliked it before they even watched it because they're sexist or they're racist or, you know, they don't think that POC belong in the Tolkien universe and all of this other bullshit. But I remember both of us giving it a very fair chance to stand on its own. We watched it every week. We were diligent. We took notes on it and we talked about it, and it just wasn't a good show. Like, it's as simple as that. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. I'm a disappointed mom.
Read one more. And then
Shame
move
on you, Amazon. Touchy Subject said, Phil, how do you feel about a story about pedophile, serial killer, clown infiltrating Hollywood, becoming president, and declaring martial law?
Does it end with
Vote
the
for
wood
me.
chipper?
I'm very confused.
Yeah, I don't know what he's trying to say. It sounds like there's like a dig there, but
I'm not sure, but it sounds like the protagonist of your story needs a wood chipper.
Okay. We're going to move on. There is an actor in John Wick 4 named Donnie Yen. He plays an assassin named Kane in the movie. And Brett, you said he kind of looks like Psy, the original. He's the OG K-pop star, by the way.
Not in this picture,
awesome.
but
in some
yeah.
pictures where he's wearing the sunglasses, he just looks like he could break out into song and dance at any moment.
Gangnam Style.
Yep.
But anyway, he gave this interview to GQ recently, and I guess like GQ is where likable celebrities go to die. In my eyes, because most of it was about comparing his stardom in China to the way he is seen in Hollywood. And it turns out that he thought there were several Asian stereotypes attached to his character in John Wick Chapter 4, and he forced them to revise and remove those stereotypes to his liking.
Tell him that the rest of the world knows how Chinese studios treat black people. Like, we're aware. You're in no position to talk.
I have a question. What's the difference between a stereotype and just a characteristic of someone's culture? Because John Wick, this guy's going all around the world, right? This isn't just happening in like New York City.
John Wick, by the way, who is played by someone who's part Asian.
Who? Keanu Reeves?
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's part Asian. So,
Cool.
Here's what he said about it. In China, Donnie Yen can play drug lords, animated monkeys, romantic leads, soldiers, and he can even sing. But in Hollywood, the same handful of tired old stereotypes. The sage warrior, the stern general, the one-dimensional villain. I just can't tell where the script is in Hollywood. Like, are POC actors relegated just to villains, or are they locked out of playing villain roles because of an agenda to make white people the only villains? They just really can't keep their story straight anymore. They said often the typecasting isn't even conscious. Donnie Yen recalls getting approached by Disney to appear in the 2016 Star Wars prequel Rogue One. In the early drafts of the script, Yen's character, I don't know how to say this, is it Chirrut Imwe? Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
he
don't
was
know, I'm guessing.
the same generic martial arts warrior. He said, one thing I pointed out is that he was a stereotype. A typical master doesn't smile. And it was Yen who suggested making his character blind and gave him a sense of humor and improvised jokes on set. In turn, he turned the otherwise straight cliche into the soul of the movie. I don't know if that movie had any soul, or if he was the soul of that movie, but whatever. And something similar happened while making John Wick 4. His character is an assassin called Kane, who originally went by either Shang or Chang in the original script. He said, why does he always have to be called Shang or Chang? Why can't he have a normal name? Why do you have to be so generic? Then the wardrobe again. Mandarin collars. Why is everything so generic? This is a John Wick movie. Everyone's supposed to be cool and fashionable. Why can't he look cool and fashionable? So he just sounds like a petulant child who is whining because he's not the star of the show.
Yeah.
But I think it's really telling. Brett, you pointed out this aspect of it earlier, that he's talking about an anglicized or westernized name as the normal name. And he himself, being Asian, is calling Asian names abnormal. And then, considers them generic. He considers his own heritage to be generic, bland, boring. He's the one saying negative things about his heritage, not the people who wrote those things into his character. And if they had written him as a completely westernized character, then you can, of course, level the same complaint. You're erasing my heritage from this character I'm playing. Why do you want to, whitewash my Asian heritage? The complaints just never stop.
It's like that, remember that girl a few years ago? I think she was like from Oklahoma. She went to prom and she had this Asian looking dress. She was a white girl. And
she had her
got
life just absolutely ruined.
It was a beautiful dress. Like, it was cool. It was just cool looking.
Well, it was an original idea.
And she couldn't. You're not allowed. So.
And then the Stop Asian Hate thing happened. I mean, I think they really the SJWs can't decide where they fall on acknowledging that Asian people exist. I don't know what they want. And Donnie Yen specifically, I don't know what he wants. He's getting an incredibly great opportunity to play this role, and all he can think about is what's wrong with it.
It's just about power.
He just wants influence, right?
I was gonna say, and that's why
he was able to throw his weight around,
and that's why he's going to GQ to complain about it. Because it's if it's an actual
now it's in all the headlines,
design choice or creative choice, you're gonna go and talk to your coworkers on the set and be like, hey, I was reading this script. I think this might work better.
You talk to your manager and you say, hey,
he talked to the director, and the director agreed to change his character's name and his wardrobe, redesigned his look, and that was seen as rectifying the situation.
So he can go and complain to his boss, get what he's asking for, then go to the press and complain to the press.
Complain that there was even a problem in the first place.
Sit the fuck down. Pardon my French, sorry.
What was the point of hearing his complaint and responding in the first place if you were still gonna get shit on in the media?
Beat it. I don't want you on my set. Get out of here. Sincerely, when you go and you are look, when you bring creative ideas and then the director takes your creative ideas and says, you know what? Okay, I like this. Let's work together to get and you get what you want. Then in press, you go and complain too. Yep. You should go to press and be like, let me tell you about this great experience I had. The director was so awesome.
Makes my life easy.
It should be all positive.
It's
it's cast like a negative thing.
Underhanded, because he said, after he said all of this about how he was stereotyped, he said, I had a very respectful experience working on John Wick. Overall, I enjoyed making the film.
That guy's a
So you can just seem like you're cordial and respectful and professional.
I hate him.
When you actually just threw them under the bus.
And this isn't like, so when it comes to Keanu Reeves, like Keanu Reeves is one of those people that it's like kind of like Donald Glover in a way that like if he's attached to something, you know he's got control over it. He's not just showing up to shoot like to read lines or film a scene. Like there's a reason there's been 4 John Wick movies, and a big part of that's Keanu Reeves. So I really doubt that there's some kind of racism or whatever he's accusing, whatever his accusations are. I really doubt that's going on.
Keanu Reeves,
especially for the 4th time around.
Yeah, he's got a reputation of being like the best dude in Hollywood.
Best, like,
the best.
We'll go to random people's weddings.
Yeah, like,
you know, like,
he has a little bit too much of a like good boy image, in my opinion, to be true.
But he doesn't push that though. That's other people's
Yeah,
words.
it is other people. The other people annoy me.
Exactly.
That's what I'm
And
saying.
you know, I could see that from certain people. It's like, oh, look at the way he dresses and look at the way he conducts himself in interviews. But he doesn't even do any of that. Keanu Reeves is just a regular person.
I just had
He's
this
so good.
image of Mary in my head with like the talons coming out, and then you're like easy, and she's like, just kind of like being like, okay, and kind of just like chills back. She's
Keanu
like,
Reeves.
just kind of like, you know.
I just think any celebrity who is like known for being such a good guy is like probably putting up a front.
Mary's like, I should get a knife.
I don't know about Keanu Reeves in particular, but like there's also the like quirky persona that some of them have. Like Jennifer Lawrence has that, Bill Murray has that, and they're 2 drastically different people, but like you can only pretend to be relatable for so long, you know?
Well, I don't think he even tries to be relatable, you know? Like,
Yeah,
he
I think
stays
the-
out of the public eye for the
Keanu
most
Reeves'
part. We bring him right
image
back
is
in.
like put onto him
Yeah.
more so I like, yeah, I excuse that.
I do wonder if all of the Russian bad guys from John Wick 1 would have complained about the fact that,
Russian stereotypes.
that they're like, well, yeah,
Russophobia.
The first real fight he has with the Russian mob is in a bathhouse. Is that some type of stereotype?
When did
Probably.
the mob stop being like Italian and start being Russian in Hollywood?
They fought in New York and
Ah.
When the United States is like has way more Italians than it does Russians.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
Same reason that this actor got treated better in China than he feels like he gets better treated in the United States. You were among the majority over there. Obviously, there's more roles for you when you're among the majority. You come to the United States and you're in a minority. So, shocker, really weird.
Like I'm
you know?
sure a white actor going to work in China would have like weird stories about how he was treated too.
And I'm sure that they would be far worse than weird. They literally make commercials about like with like a black dude that has to go into the washing machine. They wash the black off, and the Asian guy comes out.
They're
This guy's
like massively racist over there
This guy is-
by our standards, by Western standards.
Yeah, this loser's just making noise because he knows he can make noise. It's garbage. It's a garbage thing for him to do. He's a piece of garbage.
But yeah, it seems like he's getting praised for it and celebrated for it, which is exactly what he wanted.
Exactly.
This journalist said it's to illustrate what he faced his whole career and what he and other Asian actors are up against, even now. So
You know
it's
what?
that, and it's like all
like
of
you're an
these headlines
actor,
about
dude.
everything everywhere all at once, and it's the first Asian male director this, and the first Asian
no.
female star that.
You're not
The
like, you're not a
milestones
janitor.
are all like, they stack them up, and it's like, does any of this mean
Well, wait,
anything
just
anymore?
wait
Can we
until-
accept that we've made any progress?
Wait until he's the first Asian American action star of the 2030s, right? Wait until they start grouping it by the decade.
Exactly.
Because, like,
They're gonna run out of like
Yeah.
meaningless
Yeah.
monikers for these people. Yeah.
Well, they've been reusing them.
you know, and I hate that. Like, just in a general sense, I hate that because you know what else? Who else does it? Is like some of the NFL announcers. You'll be watching an NFL game, and they'll give you like the most specific stat of a player, and be like, "Oh, he's the best." He's like, "Yeah," and so you know, the quarterback, he's just the best there is when it comes to Thursday nights in the rain on the West Coast, and it's like, oh, okay.
It's Lucky Charm.
Yeah, like that's cool that you have that data, but like, dude, I'm like, come on.
They satirized that in the movie Little Big League, where the guy just keeps getting handed ridiculous
More and
stats
more.
by the guy he works with, who's just he goes and gives him stats that are completely pointless.
Yeah, you know, the new stats I like is they just put a tracker on the players now, so now you can tell how many miles per hour they're running. You know, I'm like, I don't need
that's cool.
someone to like lay that out for me. Just put the number on the screen. You know. So.
Like their cars.
You know, speaking, we were just talking about Netflix. Netflix is doing this. Is the first time that players have been have a camera and mic'd up for an entire season. And Netflix is doing a show based on 3 different players, I believe, in the NFL. And so for every game this past season, they wore a camera and a microphone during every game and practice. And I don't know what the show's going to be, like what they're going for. Obviously about football, but
Yeah,
like,
that's kind of a cool
yeah,
idea.
it's new, and it's new. It's
What
not
if you like
trying
say
to,
some shit under your breath that you don't want?
But I'm just like, another freaking documentary, though. You know, even though I
Yeah.
want to see this one, I'm just
Documentaries increasingly are just like, they don't have any substance. They're not educational. They just have like, you know, weird B-roll with music, and then like a narrator who is saying general statements that don't require research.
Yeah.
Like, many have said this.
That's why I love when people do the parodies of documentaries, but they're like
For
done.
trailers. Well,
Yeah. For trailers.
equally, like, don't inform you about anything.
There's one that it was like a guy trying to fight a baby, but it's set up to be like one of those like Big Brother like drama shows.
Oh, I love that one. Yeah.
He's about to fight a baby.
Little baby man. Okay, let's go to Super
Oh,
Chats.
do
Let's
it.
finish these up. Carnell said, breaking, over $30 million worth of Grogu Funko Pops are headed to the landfill. Pull it up, Jamie. Oh, if only. Yeah. He's also, like, not cute. Grogu looks gross. He has, like, gross little teeth. I hate when he opens his mouth and you can see his gross little teeth in there. And his little baby sounds, they just piss me off. I want to punt him. The Last of My Kind sent a $1 without a message. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jimbo said, a children's story that can only be enjoyed by children is not a good children's story in the slightest. C.S. Lewis. I think that's true. Yeah.
Was that a quote?
Is that an actual quote?
If it is, I don't know who said it, but I think it's
I don't
true.
know. Even if it isn't, good job because
Supposedly.
it's believable.
Yeah, I agree. Like, we're not capable of making content that both adults and children can enjoy anymore. Because, like, all the adult content is hypersexualized and hyperviolent, and all of the children's content is hypersexualized.
Nobody wants to make
but
a
like
good
not
story.
hyperviolent. I don't know.
No one wants it's like no one makes a good like coming of age story or hero's journey story or whatever. Like even, and I, not to drill back down on the Star Wars stuff, but the sequels, there was no journey. She was, you know, people talk about this concept called a Mary Sue. Right off the bat, she could do everything. You know, like she fought the main antagonist at the end of the first movie and won. What the hell are you thinking?
Yep.
Like, Luke Skywalker didn't even get to face the main bad guy in the first one. Like, if you look at, like...
I know. I was so excited, too, because for a brief moment there, you see the stormtrooper pick up the lightsaber. You're like, no way. I'm like, that's cool.
And then, yeah.
That's cool. Like, he's rebelling, and he's, like, secretly a Jedi, even though he's been working for Darth Vader this whole time. I'm like, no, or, you know, whatever. But then, of course, no. It's just a random shot for no reason.
There was not a quality story. It was right off the bat. Everybody could do everything, and they just don't. That's just not a compelling story. If there's nothing to lose, then who cares? So that's, you know.
I did say I was chatting with someone on a random YouTube stream either yesterday or the day before, and I said a way to save Star Wars is you got to make an adults only, like made for adults, like horror version where people are just dying. Like, it doesn't necessarily need to be gory and gruesome. Like, people say that's a cheap trick, sure, but like, yeah, like people, like there shouldn't, like people need to start dying off.
Anakin Skywalker killed a lot of kids in the first,
and they didn't show it. And you know how powerful that scene was.
Yeah, you know, well, I mean, it was he slaughtered the Sand People and he slaughtered the young Jedi.
He had a lot of warning signs.
There was a lot of like, oh, okay, man, you like that stuff.
It's pretty extreme in Obi-Wan Kenobi, though.
What?
Obi-Wan Kenobi showed some pretty extreme.
Did they? I haven't watched that one.
But also, like, he made random decisions to spare people that made no sense as well in Obi-Wan. So that series was just awful. Hobbit said, Ian been spouting the crazy. Is that true?
He's been saying things that make me think that he hasn't put a lot of thought in them before he says them, because I feel like they kind of run counter to his general opinion, and it's just kind of like this random idea that comes
Well, I
out,
feel like
hey.
sometimes he says things that maybe he doesn't really think, just to like see how other people jive with it. I don't know. Yeah.
I disagree. I think he thinks a lot about it. You'll see because I'm up late. IRL usually ends around 10 p.m. They'll do an after show for 30, 45 minutes, and then around midnight you'll start seeing these tweets come in from Ian. And a lot of time it's like he's reflecting.
Yeah,
and like
he has a lot to
hashing
say
out
on
his
Twitter.
ideas of the previous conversation. So I think he does. Maybe he does too much thinking. That was my opinion.
Well,
Like,
it sounds like he does his thinking after he says the things. He does the show, goes and watches it, and he's probably tweeting about the things that he was saying. He's like, I said this earlier. Now, upon reflection.
Disco Jensen said, Hollywood and streaming's issue is with all the fresh talent is indoctrinated from their Ivy League educations. Schools turned writers into activists.
Yeah, I fear that there's substance to that argument, that the quality of the stories that are going to be told for the next, 10, 20 years maybe, depending on how deep that kind of ideological possession is, or ideological capture is. The stories are going to be garbage. If you have one ideological perspective and you are terrified of harming a woman in your movie, or you're afraid of harming a person of color in your movie, then how are you going to have people feel sorry for these characters? Like, part of the reason why characters suffer in movies is so that way the viewer can feel bad for them and cares about them. Like, if you never make things hard for them, then what the hell do I give a shit about the story? My language is terrible today. I'm sorry.
Well, it's like Dexter. So spoiler, it's an old show, so I shouldn't even give a spoiler alert. But spoiler alert. Dexter's wife and his cute little girlfriend gets killed, and it's like a huge shocker. And it's like yes, it wasn't the main character, but you needed to see something that he loved and cherished to die.
Yep.
To impact the viewer, So you're absolutely right. You can't treat everyone with kid gloves.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Julie Benz.
Is that who her name was?
No, it's Rita, but
Rita,
it's Julie Benz who plays that character.
That was shocking because you didn't see it coming. From what I can remember, that was pretty unexpected, right?
They're making a prequel about the Trinity Killer.
Didn't you say you wanted that to happen?
No, I don't want. I don't think it needs to happen because it won't have. If it's a prequel, it won't have John Lithgow, so there's no real reason to do it. But
it depends how far back they go.
John Lithgow was old when that was made, and he's even older now, so they can't do a prequel.
True.
I guess they could deep fake him, but I don't think they do.
I'd rather them not. Yeah.
Hobbit said, recently a Twitch streamer had sex on stream. She got suspended for a week or two for it. In a few years, they will apologize to her for the suspension.
I remember that.
That's crazy.
That's crazy, yeah. I why? Just turn the camera. Oh my God.
It wasn't blatantly.
She was trying to
trying to.
No. So she wasn't people makes it sound like she booted up Twitch to have a live sexual performance, and that wasn't the case. She was talking to her chat while her boyfriend was with her, but he was off screen. You can only tell because of the reflection of the window.
Oh my gosh.
So it's
you can't tell me that's
she
not
was still trying to do her job. Of course it was intentional. She pulled her pants down. But what I'm saying is that
the window being there.
it's tough because you might not have been able to tell with your eyes, but on camera it shows up the reflect. I don't know, or maybe the angle.
You'd be surprised how much they plan these things.
Sure, but my whole thing is it's so silly because she's still trying to do her job as a Twitch streamer. And I'm just turn it off, go do your thing, and come back.
The stream,
and then come back later,
they even have intermission screens they can turn on. I don't even understand. But it's because they're weird perverts,
See, they try to go all the way up to the line, and they try to keep pushing the line.
It's intentional,
The claws are coming out.
That's why Amaranth has been banned 5 times. It's with her.
And now I'm sorry, I just cannot sympathize when she is talking about her evil husband, who is using her for using her body to build an empire. I'm sorry, you're still doing that yourself.
Whatever happened to that story?
Nothing really.
Exactly. I was thinking it was fake all along.
Yeah, she was just I'm just recovering. I'm trying to get therapy and like it's just like
What I hate is
there's
the fact
never
that
any follow-up. It's just like she wanted more Sims to feel bad for her,
like
without unsubbing because she's married.
That whole story was worth a whole lot of tier 3 subs. I'm sure of it.
Twitch literally created an industry of microphones that are shaped like ears and lips and weird stuff like that for ASMR videos.
Weird
Get me
stuff,
out of this
man.
simulation, man.
Bring that meteor. Hobbit said Halo 3 was the GOAT.
Yeah, it was.
It was.
Bobcat said, when are you guys going to get Wendigoon up here on PCC? You can talk about the movie he's been involved with or analog horror or cryptids.
Who's Wendigoon?
He's a
don't know.
YouTuber.
Ah, okay.
Oh, he's a YouTuber,
People have
okay.
suggested him to us before. He's
I'll
got
look into
quite
this.
a large following.
Potatoes for Seamus said Baba Booey. Baba Booey. Where is Surge? Baba Booey.
Where is Serge?
Papa Booey.
Where is Surge?
Well, yeah, what did he
knows?
say? What was the excuse he gave you guys?
That boy's sus.
I think he
What did
said,
He's sussy.
"Do I have to?" Were his exact words, and I said, "Well, no." And he says, "Because if I have to, I will." I said, well, if you feel like you have to,
You're
I don't
not
want
his
you.
father.
I don't want you here if it's an inconvenience.
I think it's really funny that he locked himself out of his car this week.
He did? Oh, that sucks. I've done that multiple times.
The poor guy.
Yeah.
Martin261 said, Phil, somebody needs to give Ian Diet Coke, not real Coke. He's too amped. Anybody ready to play BF4? Search out the Boomwave and Trump servers.
So this is what Ian does. Ian gets a coffee mug, but what you don't realize is it's like 5 times the size of a normal coffee mug.
Yeah.
It's very deceiving. And that thing's filled with like tea and whatever else.
Aloe water.
I don't think
Aloe.
Always that weird
Something-
aloe water.
something hippie-like, something that is hippie
Well, he
and
said
natural. And,
he said that he does use caffeine. But he, I don't think people always
It's a super
assume he's
nutrient.
like
Why
super
not?
high or something. I'm like, yeah, Ian's
No, he's just
him.
him, you know? We love him for who he is. James Ornthal Wen said, Donnie Yen and Michelle Yeoh going woke gave me a reverse chubby.
they
Good to
ran
know.
up inside your body.
He also said, Schneider in Surf Ninjas. 2 words, David Carradine.
Moto Surf. Yeah.
David Carradine's great.
I'm so confused
If
right now.
people haven't seen Surf Ninjas, you should watch Surf Ninjas. It's got Kino from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
Touchy Subjects said, Phil, Touchy, a serial killer clown that only kills PDFs. It's the plot to my book series based on a true story, including a dead Hell's Angel. Interesting idea.
The
Based on a
original
true
one,
story.
the original one sounded like it said that the clown was the PDF.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how that made it
Yeah.
sound. But thank you for clarifying.
I like this. This is much better. I like the I like
Okay.
the second revision
Yeah.
or the
Hobbit,
first revision.
he infiltrates Hollywood, but okay, yeah. Hobbit said, everything is segregation these days. Race, entertainment, now families separate, make specific things for adults and kids, take away family content.
Hold on. We should have things that are specifically for adults. There are things that should be isolated and segregated for only adults that children don't have access to. There should also be family stuff that's for the whole family.
Like
But
Cocaine Bear. I'm just kidding.
I mean,
Well, depends on what you think, but language-wise.
Yeah.
part of me feels like you're kind of Wednesday Addams.
They said that I'm like her ancestor, Goody Adams.
Maybe.
I think I'm a little more chipper.
Probably, but
It's more of a Friday Adams.
there's
Friday.
I feel like there's the blades are there, there's talent.
Do you guys see Jenna Ortega and Aubrey Plaza
Mm-hmm.
at the it's funny, man. It's like a 30-second bit and they're both just deadpanning, like doing their thing, but they're both like known for those characters, so it's great. It's awesome.
Yeah. Hobbit also said divide and conquer much. I agree. if there's no kids entertainment that can also entertain adults, then there's a problem. Even SpongeBob, like I'm always gonna say this about SpongeBob. My parents liked SpongeBob and we all watched it. Like it's just funny and clever.
Yeah, I remember singing the campfire song with my uncle when we would go camping. Yeah, that's a SpongeBob song.
James Orenthal Wen said, Graf Ian shoots his shot, then has killer's remorse.
James Orenthal, what?
When? I think.
Okay.
Potatoes for Seamus said, Brett, I know TC agent when you gonna come meet him?
I'm guessing he means Tom Cruise's agent.
Oh, Tom Cruise's agent?
I already met him. Didn't you see that photo?
They go to the same church.
He's literally next to you right now. I don't know what you're talking about, Potatoes.
Exactly. All right. That was all of them?
Yeah.
That was all of them? All right, guys. Kellen, my friend, thank you so much for coming today. He complained yesterday. He said he didn't want to come and be on the show alone.
I did say that. I didn't say I didn't want to come. I said I want to do it alone because I get scared.
Let everyone know where they can find you, my friend.
Yeah, since I didn't show up today, you guys can find me at surge.com on Twitter. And please direct all inquiries there. Thanks, guys.
All right, Phil, my friend.
I am Phil Labonte. I am Phil That Remains on Twitter, Phil That Remains Official on Instagram, and give me a follow. I'm a lot of fun.
Perfect. Mary, there's one more super chat there.
Yes, you can find pictures of me on Instagram at Mary Archived, and you can also send me hate on Twitter. That is also Mary Archived. Hobbit sent us one last super chat and said, did somebody say crisis party? So I guess we've got a crisis party incoming. There it is.
That was awesome timing.
Nice job.
All right, let everyone know where they can find you.
I already did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Were you listening?
I was. Oh no, I manually. I manual today.
Okay.
Guys, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Brett Dasovic. The show is here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you want to listen, if you'd like to listen rather than watch, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, Pandora, and Spotify. And if you would like to follow us, there it is again.
Okay.
No, it's because I did it manually. Twitter at @PopCulture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. There's one more there, Mary. We want to read it?
Okay, there's two more. Potatoes said, Mary, buy me tacos. And James Orenthal Wen said, Phil told my kids the Russell joke at Freedom Plaza.
Yeah.
What's the Russell
What's
joke?
that?
Joke?
What do you call a guy with no arms and no legs in a bush? Russell. What do you call a guy with no arms and no legs in a bush? Russell. What do you call a guy with no arms and no legs laying down in front of your door? Matt. You guys, like, you're not getting these?
I get sound.
I don't care about
His kids were probably like, "What is this guy talking
His
about?"
kid loved it. His kid hit me with the first one, and I replied with the Russell one.
Okay.
You guys are all crazy.
There's a TLE, not an SLE. Guys, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Later.